Hey everybody, welcome to the RedZone. This is our college football picks for week 5 coming up. A lot happened in week 4. A lot of craziness went on. I didn't get to watch all the games. I had to go to bed early. I had a 17-hour drive from Ohio and go to bed, and it's like Washington State's up 49-17. I'm like, oh, we're good. That's a win for us. And at one point, we're like 11-6 and thinking we're going to finish 13-6 and we end up at 11-10, and it's like you go to bed and it's like, what the heck happened? I mean, it's I still don't understand how Washington State could give up that many points. Let UCLA come from 32 down to beat them. I don't get it. Like those are games.
50 something in the second half alone.
Unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. So
I think people are going to pump the brakes on Mike Leach to a lot of these schools that are down, like Arkansas and Tennessee.
And to let them do that to you at home, I don't get it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of craziness going on. I got some, we both got picks right, picks wrong. That formula I tried, I didn't even get a chance to try this week. But as far as picks go, it was 3-2. It was pretty close on the total for the spread, or
just tweak it a little
for the
bit.
total.
One thing
the final scores were way off.
Yeah, one thing you can't really account for is turnovers, the human element basically.
And the 2 games that I missed on, the key factor in those is playing second and third string quarterbacks, because you just like USC. I mean, they played with Daniels to start out, then they have Slovis. He gets hurt. Now you got a third string. Well, all the numbers leading up to that aren't with him in the game, so you don't know what's going to happen.
Matt Fink played like a man possessed. I mean, let's hope he keeps that going, because he was fun to watch, really entertaining to watch. He lit that Utah's defense up, and Utah's defense, their rush defense looked elite. I mean, some of the best rush defense in the country, I think, but their pass defense struggles heavily. I mean, they just made – I've seen OU do that to teams where a third-string quarterback comes in and looks like a Heisman candidate.
Well, you don't prepare for that person. You don't know the tendencies. You don't know anything about
them.
So.
But he was dropping – I mean, he was dropping in dimes all over the field.
Yeah, he was. It was amazing. I mean, and, Utah cost me big time as far as, because they're the only team in my big parlay that didn't win. And so they cost me a lot of money. So anyway, before we get started, if you haven't already, get down in the description, click on the link, go watch our video. We're giving away Madden 20. We give that away next week, next week's picks. So you got 1 week to get entered into that. And then we're going to give that away, and we'll do that first thing in our pick next week. Give that away.
Last thing I'll say on Utah is if they had a quarterback, they could be a college football playoff contender, but they just can't compete in a shootout. So I'll talk a little bit more about them during the Washington State game that we're about to pick here. But
and as of now, Cal is the only undefeated Pac-12 team. So Cal. I mean,
they're out of it.
How about that? The Bears. I mean, so the Pac-12 essentially is done with any chance of playoffs. I mean, it would take a miracle. It would take Oregon or Washington running the table, and literally everybody else having 2 losses.
It's already tough enough for them because they're on a lot of their teams are on the West Coast. A lot of people nationally don't watch them. They're already in bed. I tried to stay up late as I could. Usually those Pac-12 games are the ones that I'm on my couch just trying to keep my eyes open from a long day of football. But Cal has an uphill battle. I mean, they do. They don't have the brand recognition. They don't have the benefit to be somewhere in the middle of the country or the East Coast. So it would be.
They're kind of like if you compare it to the Big 12. If USC goes undefeated, they're in. If Oklahoma goes undefeated in the Big 12, they're in. If TCU or Oklahoma State or Iowa State go undefeated in the Big 12,
Baylor. I mean, look what happened in 2011.
They're probably not in. And that's the same way with Cal. They go undefeated, they might not be in.
It's one of the reasons why they campaigned for the playoff, because TCU and Baylor both were left out that year.
And Ohio State got in and won it all that year.
The Big 12 couldn't pick a champion. So
that's right.
They get left out.
One true champion had 3 champions that year. So, Okay, let's get into week 5. 22 games I think we're picking here, so we'll try to get through it quick. Navy versus Memphis. Memphis is a 10-point favorite. What do you think?
I got Memphis in this.
Yeah, I was looking at this at first, but I think Memphis covers this. It's at home. I mean, it should be one that they cover, I would think, fairly easily. I think 17-point win's not out of the question.
It's the Thursday night game. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. Thursday or Friday, one of the two.
Although Navy's scoring some points, 33 points a game, they're only giving up 8.5. They've played Eastern Carolina. They won 42-10. And then they beat Holy Cross 45-7. And then they lost to Army. Well, that was last year. Sorry, they've only played 2 games. Not sure how that happens. Only 2 games so far. Where they won.
Well, they do have the extra game that's late against Army
That's
at
true.
the end of the year,
Yeah.
so they have to adjust their schedule.
Memphis has won their last 5 against Ole Miss, Southern, and South Alabama. So, and they're putting teams away. Besides Ole Miss, which they played up there, they punched up in that game. So, Memphis, I just think they're the tougher team here. Yep. All respect to Navy. I think those guys for their service and what they're going to do after football. So, I just no offense in that realm, but Memphis I just think is the tougher team.
Next game, Duke versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is a 3-point favorite. This is going to be a primetime game. I believe it kicks at either 5 or 6 Eastern time. So playing in Blacksburg, pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to a game down there when they played Miami. Pretty tough environment. It's going to be pretty rowdy. It should be anyway. Yeah. Virginia Tech is still in the hunt for a conference championship, so a lot going on there. Duke, I would think, so the toughest opponent either team has had so far, Virginia Tech played Boston College and lost, and then Duke had Alabama, and they got blown out. But other than that, they haven't really had much tough competition, I don't believe, yet.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Who's your pick?
Virginia Tech, for a little bit of the game against Old Dominion, I think they struggled a little bit. And then they beat Furman 24-17. So I could definitely see the game it's so close at 3 points.
Yeah.
That I want to just kind of go with the home team here, because Duke, the teams that they've beat, they beat them handily. They went and beat Middle Tennessee State, and then they beat North Carolina A&T, both scoring over 40 points and holding both opponents to under 20. Man, I'll take Virginia Tech in this, just the home team factor.
I was looking at this one earlier. It was one that really caught my attention. I mean, all of the factors say Virginia Tech with the home game, the primetime game, and everything. But there's just something about Duke in my gut that I feel like Duke is even going to probably win the game.
Yeah.
I'm taking Duke. So
I'm going to switch to Duke.
You're going to take Duke?
I am. Yeah. I'm on the fence on this one, and when we first made the list, or when you first sent it to me, that was one that jumped off the page, just because it's a tough one to pick. I definitely wouldn't put any money on it. But I'll switch and take Duke, and if I get it wrong, I'll blame it on you.
Okay, I'll take that. You got me last week to switch from Colorado to Arizona State, and that was I should have stuck with my gut. So anyway, all right. Penn State is at Maryland. Penn State is a 7-point favorite. Maryland's loss to Temple had cooled everybody off of Maryland. Yeah. Penn State's last game was a close one with Pitt, but they won at home.
But Pitt's good.
Pitt's pretty good. Pitt knocked off UCF last week. And this is another one I looked at. This one's being played at Maryland. I believe this one might be in prime time. Everybody's going to be hyped up in Maryland. It's going to be a show. Maryland's offense, I know they struggle against Temple, but they're still for real.
Well, Temple's pretty good. I mean, Temple's not
and Penn State has shown that they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
7 to me is too much. I have to take Maryland in this.
Yeah. I think Maryland could make it a pretty close game. Home team. Yeah. They're going to be looking to come out after Temple and hopefully stick close with them. So
this is Maryland's chance to prove that they belong in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't done it to this point. They played close with Ohio State last year.
Yeah.
But they got to get a big win, and this is their chance.
Yeah, and Josh Jackson's thrown for 724 yards already, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's injured or playing. I didn't get to catch the game at all last week, so But, yeah, I'll take Maryland in this one to bounce back.
Okay, Arizona State is at Cal. Cal is a 5-point favorite. I picked Cal last week. They won. I mean, I'm staying with Cal until they prove me wrong. Yep. I can't take Arizona State in this, so give me Cal to cover.
Yeah, I picked Arizona State this last week thinking their game against Michigan State would have them pumped up at home, ready to go, and they proved me wrong. So,
letdown.
Yeah, a huge letdown. I don't like to overreact like that very much, but Cal has just been – their defense is really good this year, and I'll take Cal.
Okay. Next one, Cincinnati is at Marshall. Cincinnati is a 3-point favorite. What do you think?
I'm going to take Cincinnati.
Okay. I am a huge Cincinnati fan. I'm root Bearcats all the way. I really hope they win. This is another sleeper one that I think people just automatically think that it should be Cincinnati. Marshall's tough. It's a tough place to go play in Huntington. I'm going to go on the flip on this and take Marshall.
Yeah, it's a tough one just because it's so close, but Cincinnati, they beat Miami this last week. They did lose to Ohio State, and they beat UCLA, which UCLA had that big, maybe they flipped a switch here.
Yeah, that was different UCLA.
It was. It definitely was. So don't put a lot of weight into that. Yeah. But just with what I've seen from Cincy this year, I'll take them.
Marshall's really good in Conference USA, so I mean, don't overlook them at all.
And their only loss is to Boise State, so
that's
but they did struggle against Ohio.
Yeah, and then Ohio lost this past week to Louisiana, so I think that's the same Louisiana team that gave Texas.
Is Marshall off a bye week?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay, next game.
Makes me kind
of the big ABC primetime game, Ohio State 17.5 versus Nebraska. Just really quick, all these numbers as of 9:37 p.m. Monday night. So that's when we locked in the numbers. So that's the numbers we're going. Ohio State 17.5. I'll just go first. I'm the big Buckeye fan. I admit it. I've always liked Nebraska. I always had respect for Nebraska. Look, Nebraska is probably the worst 3-1 football team that I've watched this year. They're not very good. I mean, they are just surviving. They survived against Illinois, a game they probably should have lost. There is absolutely nowhere on paper anywhere that I can see where Nebraska can hang with Ohio State.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I don't care how good Adrian Martinez is against that Buckeye defense, which is only giving up, I think, averaging 9 points a game. They're scoring 53 points a game. The ESPN predictor has them as a 90% favorite to win the game. 17.5 is way too low, in my opinion. I think the spread should be about 25 or 26. This is not the Buckeye team that struggled with Nebraska last year. Completely different. New coach, new quarterback, especially a new defense. So, I've been a little bit critical of Ohio State. I've paid by being critical. Last week, I didn't think they'd cover. They beat Miami of Ohio by 71.
Yeah.
I mean, so give me the Buckeyes all day. I think they steamroll Nebraska.
Yeah, Adrian Martinez threw 3 interceptions. 3 touchdowns against Illinois. 0 interceptions. So you kind of wonder that they did give up 38 to Illinois, but you're right. It's the same way I felt with Oklahoma and UCLA. There's nowhere position group wise that you look that Nebraska overpowers Ohio State.
Right.
Nowhere. So all phases of the game, I think you got to give it to Ohio State. This one. Okay.
Texas Tech is at Oklahoma. Oklahoma currently a 27-point favorite. This is your team. I'll let you go first. Tell me what you think.
So at 27, okay, if not Brock Purdy, the quarterback from Texas Tech who got injured, I cannot remember his name.
Anyway,
right.
If he comes back.
Right. I don't think he is. I think he's still out this week. Unless you've seen something different.
I haven't seen anything different pop up in the news feed. He's coming back.
Everybody's saying a few weeks. Last year, their second-string quarterback, his name's slipping my mind too. He came in and looked decent, but they still lost the game. This is a completely different Texas Tech team. I don't think that they're very good to match up with Oklahoma. Had they had their starting quarterback, I would say that 27 is a little bit large of a number, but Oklahoma, they're off a bye week. Apparently they worked on tackling this bye week as they should have. Yeah. Texas Tech's still going to have some weapons on offense, but I will take the 27 with Oklahoma just because I think Jalen Hurts they've got a different feel to that team. And if there's something they need to fix, I believe that they'll fix it, and tackling being that one thing. So I'll take Oklahoma with the points.
I'm on the fence with this one. This is literally 50-50 as far as picking with the spread. Clearly, Oklahoma's going to win the game. It's how explosive is Texas Tech offense going to be? How much we're really going to find out how much better Oklahoma's defense is this week.
Yeah.
So, what happens with that? 27 seems like a lot to me. And part of that too is we were talking before we started shooting this is that, talking about LSU and people were wondering their defense isn't very good. I mean, they got all the same players they had last year, and against Texas, 4 straight plays inside the 5, Texas couldn't score. LSU held them.
Yeah.
LSU's got a great defense, but they're not playing very good. And I think what it comes down to is that offense is so explosive that the defense never gets a rest.
Yeah.
They're always on the field, and because the offense is scoring in 3 plays or 4 plays. And I kind of feel like that's probably the same problem at Oklahoma is the offense is just scoring way too fast and not giving the defense a break.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be the same way against Texas Tech. The defense is just going to be on the field the whole time. And that's probably what leads to a lot of these shootouts. How much can Texas Tech hang with Oklahoma? I don't know. My gut tells me to take Texas Tech in the points, so I'm just going to stick with my gut and take Texas Tech.
Texas Tech scored only 14 points against Arizona. Bowman did play in that one, but I
believe that's the game he got hurt in, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's just even with that, he threw 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and I just with your starting quarterback going out like that.
Yeah.
One that you rely on heavily because he was one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. So. Without just taking too much time on this one. Yeah.
So you're going to take OU. I'm taking Texas. All right. Kansas State at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State currently 4.5-point favorite. Kansas State coming off their win against, I can't remember that. I think it was 2 weeks ago they beat
Mississippi State.
So maybe they were on a bye last week. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. Oklahoma State coming off that very tough loss to Texas, 6-point game. They weren't ever really in position to win the game. I mean, they never really took the lead or anything. And so it's not like I don't think they really ever had a chance to beat Texas.
Yeah.
But it did show that they did have
chances.
Offense.
I mean, there were several times where they could have put that game away and not gone for it or, they did get 2 muff punts from Texas. But I believe there was a field goal they could have taken that would have put them up by 2 extra points rather than just 1. Mm-hmm. And then Texas definitely has to make some decisions there at the end.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they got them with the trick play. So maybe the defense just isn't really focused. And you got to give it to Gundy, though. I mean, he brought in an offensive coordinator that – coached a really good game, and it was a close game. Spencer Sanders, I mean, you've got Oklahoma State fans. You have a quarterback for the next at least 3 years. He's just a playmaker. We'll see what they can do. They always seem to get skill position players, but I'm going to take Oklahoma State in this one. I think their offense is really explosive.
I agree with that. Their offense is definitely explosive. I think Kansas State is just like that silent team.
Yeah.
Because nobody expected
anything
from them.
They're a lot better
this year.
than people expected.
Yeah, they are better than people expected. Nobody's paying any attention to them. I don't know. I mean, Mike Gundy's not going to overlook them, but maybe some of their players might a little bit. But I think that they're a team that if you're not 100% prepared for, they're going to sneak up and bite you.
Yeah.
4.5. I'm a little wondering why it's so low because of how explosive Oklahoma State's offense is.
Well,
so that kind of the fact the spread is so low worries me. But I'm going to go ahead and take Oklahoma State to cover the 4.5.
They're both scoring 44 points a game. Kansas State's only giving up 12 points a game compared to Oklahoma State giving up 26 points a game. But
you also have
Kansas
to look at
State
who they played.
has only played Nichols. They played Bowling Green. They played Mississippi State, which still don't. The verdict's out on Mississippi State with me kind of. But Oklahoma State, they've only played Tulsa, but they played Texas.
Yeah, they did.
They had 14 scored on them by McNeese State, and then Tulsa scored 21. But Tulsa, it's a better Tulsa team this year. Yeah. So I just think I don't know that Kansas State could really compete in a shootout if they need to. I don't know yet. I think that I would give Oklahoma State the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I know Kansas State's going to run the ball more than probably any team that Oklahoma State's played so far. So, but we both have Oklahoma State. Okay, Washington State is at Utah. Utah 5-point favorite. Washington State coming off that embarrassing loss to UCLA. Utah losing to USC. I mean, they're playing at Utah. I just don't know about Utah. They come in as a favorite to win the Pac-12, and I don't know. They've just kind of like letting teams hang around. They've struggled. I guess I shouldn't be surprised if they lost at the Coliseum. I mean, that's a hard. When USC's playing well, you can't beat them at home. Yeah. So, it's being played at Utah. I just feel like Washington State's going to come back and win that game. But I just don't. But I mean, their defense is so bad, and I think Utah, even with their struggling offense, can score against them. Yeah. I'll just take Utah to cover. I mean, I don't know where to go with that one, so I wouldn't bet it.
I had to take some notes when I was watching that USC-Utah game, and what I had down here is Utah's rush defense is elite. Their pass defense is not. They're not great with intermediate throws, which air raid is all about finding coverage, zone coverage, which actually we saw a lot of man coverage with Utah, and that's why they got burned. I think that Washington State has the ability to go out there and throw on that secondary. I was not impressed with that secondary from Utah. Utah is able to stop the run, but Washington State doesn't really run the ball that much. So they're not going to need to run. They can make Washington State a one-dimensional team because they have the ability to do so. I mean, Washington State will be able to throw the ball. And I hope I'm not going to be sticking my foot in my mouth on this one and just something comes up. But Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Pittman from USC ran all up and down the field against Utah. And then they made a third-string quarterback look like a starter.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
you got me wanting
incredible.
To I'm flipping. I'm taking Washington.
Yeah, I just my other note.
Mean, seriously.
Yeah.
The only thing is though is that Washington State's defense looked so bad against UCLA in that second half.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times Dorian Thompson-Robinson he flicks it out to the side and the guy goes up the field. And if they can do that, what's Utah going to do to their defense? I mean, that's the only thing that worries me about that.
Well,
if they get in a shootout. So, but
it is a close. The only thing that really kind of scares me is just the 5 points. It's really close. But again, I don't think Utah. This was my other note. I don't think Utah can compete in a shootout. I just don't think they can. I don't think that they have the quarterback to be able to do so. He was not very good in throwing all over certain throws were just going kind of all over the place against USC. And so I just
who you take?
I'm going to take Washington State
for
sure.
We both have Washington State. All right. Yeah. Indiana at Michigan State.
To cover. I mean, I think it could be a 3-point game, but and maybe Utah wins, but I think that
I think Washington State wins the game.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel really good about Washington State.
All right. Indiana at Michigan State. Michigan State's a 14-point favorite. I'll take Michigan State to cover.
Yeah, man, their offense is just not very good.
Can't score, then score 32. Can't score, it's like they're everywhere. But Indiana, when they played Ohio State, didn't look that great to me.
Yeah.
So I'll stay with Michigan State for now.
Yeah. I'll take Michigan State. I'm reluctant just because of how they haven't looked very good. I mean, their defense is good, but their offense just looks so just mediocre. I mean, and that's why I don't like picking these large spreads on teams like this, because I don't know. I don't know what their offense is going to come out and do. I don't know if Indiana's just going to lay an egg and just, take it for 4 quarters. So I'll take Michigan State, but I'm not confident about it.
All right. Northwestern at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 24-point favorite. Wisconsin just literally lit up and dominated Michigan, which that wasn't a surprise to me. I thought they were going to. I mean, Michigan is not any good. They're just not that good. Wisconsin with Jonathan Taylor, I mean, here's the thing about Wisconsin. I'm going to say right now, though. Yes, we're heading towards that Ohio State-Wisconsin game being like the biggest Big Ten game of the year. Problem is, Wisconsin is one-dimensional, which means they run the ball.
Yeah.
At some point, they're going to hit a defense where they're not very successful running the ball, and they're going to have to throw. And when they hit that team, they're going to lose because they can't throw the ball. They haven't been able to throw the ball for 5 years. I mean, Hornibrook couldn't throw the ball. They can't throw now. But at some point, when you're one-dimensional, you hit a team that stops you.
Yeah.
It's not Northwestern. Even though Northwestern held Stanford, I know that Stanford scored 17, but that last play of the game just doesn't even
Stanford's
count.
Not great this year.
So Stanford scored 10 against Northwestern. I mean, Northwestern's not too bad, but they are way overmatched in this game.
It was 17, but still,
But that last one was the quarterback fumbled and the defense recovered for a touchdown.
True.
So really, they gave up 10.
Yeah.
So I'm just not sold on Northwestern being able to compete against that offensive line, and so I'm going to take Wisconsin to cover the 24.
Yeah, Wisconsin had their first points of the year scored against them with Michigan, and you thought through a large part of that game, you thought Michigan's not going to score a single point this game.
Yep.
Like it just looked like that. Wisconsin was good. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, I mean, just maybe give him the Doak Walker at this point. Yeah. Like he's playing like a man possessed.
He's one of the 4, I think, right now. If you had to name Heisman finalists, he's one of the 4.
Yeah. So I will I don't think Hunter Johnson is the answer there at Northwestern. Maybe he just needs another year under his belt, but you can kind of see where they decided, well, Trevor Lawrence comes in your program and you start him. So, I just think Wisconsin they're not stopping at this point.
No.
Yeah.
Arkansas against Texas A&M being played in Arlington, Texas, so neutral site game there.
Is this the Advocare
I think so.
kickoff or something?
Yeah. Arkansas lost last week to San Jose State at home. Texas A&M is a 23.5-point favorite. Texas A&M's had some tough games against Auburn, Clemson. They haven't been as impressive on offense as I expected them to be.
Yeah.
I thought they'd be better. Their defense is keeping them in it for the most part.
Yeah.
Arkansas is just really bad though. But I mean, with a neutral site game, are they bad enough to get beat by more than 24? By 24 or more? I'm just going to break. I'm taking Arkansas.
You're going to take Arkansas?
I know it seems like a ridiculous pick. Don't listen to me. Don't put money on the game. Whatever. My gut tells me that Arkansas can keep it within 24. So now I'm not saying Arkansas wins the game, but I just think it could be a close, low-scoring game. Could be I think it might be like a 13-point game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Arkansas.
Here's the thing. Auburn is better than what we thought. Obviously, Bo Nix, I mean, that kid in a year or two will be the best quarterback or one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. He's just really, really good.
He is really good.
So you can't really kill them for losing 28-20. They did beat Lamar 62-3. That's what you got to do against those teams.
Right.
And then Clemson, they kept it respectable. Now Clemson, what's going on offensively? They just don't really care about stats, and they just want wins. So I heard that this last year they played over 100 players. Or this last week, they played over 100 players in one game, getting plenty of guys depth. Your depth, a lot of experience. So, that's respectable. But how much of that was just Clemson not just putting their foot on their throat?
Sure.
With Arkansas, I don't know. San Jose State, comes in and you end up paying them, I think, over $1 million maybe. If somebody has the number, let us know. To get
it's the same thing that Texas and Georgia State. You just paid somebody close to $1 million to come in and beat your butt.
Yeah. It's
embarrassing.
I look at that and I think, man, this program is headed downhill quick.
The one thing I would caution though is there's a big tendency in college football. The team plays really bad one week and they get a loss.
Yeah.
You write them off.
Yeah.
And then
Texas
they come back the
a
next
few years
week
ago with Charlie Strong.
Then they come back the very next
Oklahoma.
week, right? And they play decent.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not good enough to win, but I can't like go against them just solely on that one game. I mean,
24 points, I mean, you have to score 24 points.
Tennessee loses to Georgia State.
Yeah.
And the very next week, they take a decent BYU team to overtime.
Yeah.
They still lost the game, but they didn't play as bad as they did against Georgia State.
I'm going to stick with Texas A&M on this. Okay. I feel bad for Arkansas fans because I know that those fans just all they want is for their football team to be good. I mean, they've had respectable basketball over the last certain years. They've had good basketball teams, but I know that, speaking from experience, because I've got family in Arkansas, but I know that they want their football team to be really good, and they're not showing up to games. So and that's where you got to tell the program the most is by not showing up. We're not going to sit here and watch this. So, but I'll take Texas A&M.
Okay. Kansas is at TCU.
That was a lot of talking for me to just pick what I was going to pick anyway.
Kansas is at TCU. TCU is a 16-point favorite. Kansas coming off the 5-point loss to West Virginia. TCU coming off the loss to SMU, which surprised a lot of people. I don't think TCU is that good. I really don't. I think TCU wins the game, but I'm taking Kansas to keep it within 16.
Yeah, this was another one I looked at in 16 points. I mean, Kansas is going to be that team this year that just we pick them one way, they go the other, and then we don't pick them to cover, and then they cover. They've just and maybe that's just with rebuilding with a new coach. I mean,
their defense has played pretty good this year. I mean, I know they gave up a lot of points to Boston College, but I mean, all things considered, they give up 29 to West Virginia. Then there's two FCS games. They give up 12, and they give up, I forget what the other number was, but
so they gave up 17 to Indiana State. They gave up 12 losing to Coastal Carolina, and then they go out and just demolish Boston College at Boston College.
So they scored 42 at Boston College. They scored 24 against West Virginia. I mean, it's not like their offense isn't finding the end zone.
Yeah.
Their defense is decent. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to beat TCU, but I mean, 16 is a huge number coming off TCU's loss to SMU. Yeah,
and TCU, man, they beat Purdue 34-13, and then they lost 38-41. I mean, that's a basically in-city rivalry there.
Yes.
So that could be a game that anything could really happen. I'll take TCU in this just until Kansas is more consistent.
Yeah.
I just can't pick them this week just until they get more consistent.
All right, Clemson's at North Carolina. I got that one mixed up. Clemson is the 26.5-point favorite. I know North Carolina.
I had to switch that earlier when you sent that to me.
Yeah, so I messed that one up. But so Clemson is a 26.5-point favorite at North Carolina. North Carolina's been able to just stick around with people. They beat Miami.
But Miami's not that great.
No, Miami's terrible. They're absolutely terrible.
Sorry.
But they did beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
I don't know. 26.5 seems a lot, but every time I say that, Clemson kind of just takes care of business. I just don't like the fact it's at North Carolina. I don't like the fact that Trevor Lawrence is not putting up Heisman numbers, and that offense just doesn't seem to be hitting on all cylinders.
I think that might be. I need to go back and really deep dive into Clemson and see, when they start putting in these or second and third string guys, how many walk-ons are playing in the offense, and And like I said, Dabo Swinney does not care about stats.
Sure, I know.
I mean,
no coach cares about stats. They don't, other than winning. Really, that's the only one that really matters is winning. And
I think some will humor their quarterback if they know that. I mean, or else Bob Stoops doesn't leave Samaje Perine in against Kansas and he breaks the single rushing.
Well,
you know,
breaking
in
a
those,
record or
I guess it's
something.
situational, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what's it? 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions for that. That's what surprises me is the 5 interceptions from Lawrence. You would think with a quarterback like that, some of the best quarterbacks don't have 5 interceptions till late in the season.
Yep.
So I'll take Clemson here. North Carolina, just I had them wrong last week. Or maybe we didn't pick them last week. It was I think it was maybe the week before Wake Forest.
Wake Forest, yeah.
But they lost to App State. Maybe they come out and want to prove something. But I just think Clemson has the ability to score.
Clemson has the ability. Will they? I don't know.
Yeah.
They did against Syracuse. Took care of business against Syracuse. I'll go ahead and take Clemson, but I'm going to reluctantly.
It's the 2:30 game. I mean, so it's not prime time or anything like that.
Yeah.
They may just want to get the win and get out of there. So I'd be cautious on this game.
Okay. Ole Miss is at Alabama. Alabama's a 35.5-point favorite. Ole Miss is not very good.
Yeah.
Alabama, I hate picking these games, these Alabama games. They're not. I would never bet on them because
it's another 2:30 one too.
I just, you have to think Alabama's going to cover.
Yeah.
But it's an SEC game, and those games tend to stay closer than what they should. And it's another reluctant pick, but I'll take Alabama to cover.
I will too. Southeastern Louisiana scored 29 on Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an FCS school an FCS school that you wouldn't expect that from a Power 5 team.
Yeah.
And then they did beat Arkansas 31-17, but an Arkansas team that we just discussed. If you just fast forwarded here, Arkansas is, I think, tied maybe for worst in the SEC with Tennessee, and then you've got Ole Miss. So
I would take Arkansas over Tennessee.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. But Ole Miss just not very good, and Alabama's doing what they need to do to just kind of ride through this easy part of their schedule. I'll take Alabama to cover here.
Okay, Virginia's at Notre Dame. Notre Dame 11.5-point favorite, playing in South Bend, coming off the tough loss to Georgia. Virginia is one of those teams that was preseason kind of expected to maybe win their division of the ACC. This is a game where if Virginia wants to be a legitimate program, you get this win and you are all of a sudden you're up there. If you lose, it's just another loss that was expected.
Yeah.
11.5. The one thing that it was interesting when I watched Notre Dame, they stuck with Georgia, but they could not run the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, it was and there was pressure on Book immediately. Like he had to make some very quick throws.
Well, Georgia's defensive front is usually
so good,
year in and year out really, really good.
But I'll take Notre Dame to cover 11.5.
I will too. Virginia, I don't know if they're the worst 4-0 team, but they definitely, I mean, they haven't really played. Pitt's probably the toughest team that they've played. And even in that game, it was 30-14. William and Mary, 52-7. Florida State, 31-24. And Old Dominion, 28-17, which I believe Old Dominion was winning at some point in that game. So they kind of struggled with them for a little bit of that game. And then you obviously probably saw what Notre Dame did with Georgia. They still kept it respectable. Mm-hmm. I mean, they did cover. So I'll take him for a second week in a row to cover.
All right, next game, USC is at Washington. Washington is a 10-point favorite. Man, it's just USC. I don't want to pick against them. I just don't. Yeah. I mean, doing what they're doing, their only loss is at BYU, right?
Who's?
Or no, USC's only loss was at BYU, right, in overtime? Yeah. So, a game that they probably should have won. I mean, I think Slovis fumbles, like, in overtime.
Yeah.
And BYU recovers. And so I don't know. USC could easily be undefeated right now. I know Jacob Eason is really good. I just think 10 is too much, and I'm going to have to take USC and the points in this.
Yeah.
It's at Washington, which is
is tough. Jacob Eason, he's got 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1,063 yards on 119 passes so far. Slovis obviously won't be playing in that game, so we'll see. I think that with some tape on Matt Fink, I think that Washington, I think that they'll be ready for it. I think that now seeing who they're going to be playing at quarterback, I think that Washington will be ready for him. And they're not going to be able to take Washington by surprise with it.
When I watch USC, I feel like they have something that I haven't seen from any other team in college football, and that is, even though at times they're outmatched as far as talent, or they're playing their third-string quarterback, this team has tremendous chemistry, and they're like a one big family. And they're gelling in a way that I just don't see from any other team right now, and so that is dangerous, and that can take you a long way.
And their wide receivers are they don't have much of a run game, but their wide receivers are probably the most underrated in the country. I mean, I don't really hear people talking about them very much.
And their offensive line, because going into the season, I was one of them. I was critical. I'm like, they're undersized, they're too little, they don't have these big offensive linemen they need, and they are playing pretty darn good football. Yeah. They really are. So that's why I'm taking USC.
They were able to give Matt Fink enough time to make the throws that he did against Utah. I just still I'm going to get burned on this again because of transitive properties.
You're taking Washington.
Utah beat BYU at BYU 45-19. I know I sound like a broken record here because I did this with USC and Utah, and I got burned on it. But I'm going to take Washington. Just the home factor. I should have taken USC, but not a lot of people were. I don't think. And the fact that there was a deal floating around social media saying that Utah hadn't won against since 1916, but they'd only played 8 times in the Coliseum. So that's kind of an overblown deal there. They hadn't been playing since 1916. So I'll take Washington.
All right, Wake Forest is a 7-point favorite at Boston College. I will take Wake to cover that.
I'm gonna do the same.
Okay.
We saw what Kansas did at Boston College,
and Wake's been good. They've been pretty good team this year.
Yeah, they've surprised me.
Yeah,
for sure.
Iowa State is at Baylor. Iowa State is a 3-point favorite. I am taking Baylor. I think Baylor's offense is pretty explosive. I think a road game for Iowa State. I know I picked Iowa State to be number 2 in the Big 12 this year and everything, but I feel like Baylor's the good pick here.
Yeah, I mean, Baylor struggles with Rice. And then their 2 previous games, they take care of UTSA and Stephen F. Austin. I'm going to take Iowa State in this. I don't know. I just think from top to bottom, I think they're better than Baylor.
Okay. Minnesota is at Purdue. Purdue is a 1.5-point favorite. Minnesota is undefeated. I think they're 3-0, and unless they played last week, I should have looked that up. But
no, they're 3-0.
3-0. They are the worst 3-0 team in college football, in my opinion, because I've seen all 3 of their games, and they are not very good, and they've survived, and survived against a lot lesser teams.
Georgia Southern, Fresno State.
Yeah, the game being at Purdue, I will take Purdue.
San Diego State, I'm going to take Purdue as well.
Okay.
I mean, 1.5, you're just picking a winner.
Yeah, pretty much. Mississippi State is at Auburn. Auburn is an 11-point favorite. Mississippi State's defense is not that bad. I think they were number 1 in total defense last year. They're playing okay. They just beat Kentucky, I believe, when I had thought Kentucky would win that game.
Yeah.
So Auburn has a tremendous defense. Offense is coming along. 11 seems a little high, but I'm not going to go against Auburn at this point, so I'm going to take Auburn to cover the 11 at home.
I am too. I think that Bo Nix is going to start kind of taking, even though he's only thrown for 645 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but as a freshman, I mean, I just think I trust Auburn to get this one. They've surprised me at this point. And, they're deserving of that spot right there.
Kentucky is at South Carolina. South Carolina is a 2-point favorite. Kentucky, man, they should have won against Florida, but they didn't. And then they go into Mississippi State, and they just kind of like, it's tough when you got a backup quarterback and a lot of different things happening. You don't have much of a run game really. Smoke is okay, but he's not great. South Carolina scores a lot of points. It's going to be hard for Kentucky to keep up.
Yeah.
2, I think, is pretty, I think it's easy for them to cover 2.
Yeah.
So I want to take South Carolina to cover at home.
I will take South Carolina as well, even though I think Kentucky's defense is better. But I just offensively, I think South Carolina can take care of that.
That's all the picks. Really quickly, again, if you haven't, watch the video. There's a link in the description to how you can enter to win a chance to win Madden 20. We'll draw that next week, Sunday night, so you got to get your stuff in by Saturday. Other than that, I just want to briefly mention, because if you haven't seen it, I got to mention another YouTube channel out there that I found, SEC Shorts.
Yeah.
You got to go watch it.
They're really, really funny.
They are so funny. The last 2 that they've done, they did one about the Georgia-Notre Dame game, which is hilarious, making fun of Notre Dame players. And then the one they did before that with Florida and Kentucky was just, I laughed so hard. Yeah. I watched it twice again today. Those guys do an amazing job. And you can go back through for the past couple of years and see what they've done.
Did you see the Matthew McConaughey one? Locking himself in the Texas office?
And then the guy's like, SWATs and sniper, and he's hold on.
Just go watch it.
And then you'll see it at the end. It's pretty funny. So, but that's it. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Like this video. Please comment. And again, subscribe.
And SEC Shorts, where's our money?
For your mention. Anyway, okay, that's it. Have fun. Enjoy week 5, and we'll see you next week for week 6.